Garden Report is brought to you by Prize Picks and the Game Time app.
Hey, Buddy Manning here. Welcome to a news edition of the Garden Report, an annual October tradition now. The GM survey out in the NBA ahead of a new season getting going in just a couple weeks here, and a lot of Celtics love. They overwhelmingly the favorite to win the championship at 83%. Thunder coming in at 13%. Celtics 97% of voters had them as the top seed in the East. Yeah, that's pretty consensus where the Celtics are headed this year. Not as much for the Celtics players. Good results for Tatum, pretty much in line with last year. Jaylen Brown, a riser here, and I think that's an underrated story as people have reviewed these lists today. And Drew Holiday, just overwhelmed with love, praise, and high status on the defensive end in this vote here. Joe Mazzulla, to me, though, coming in a little underrated despite an obvious rise over last year in the rankings here. But let's start with Tatum. Tatum voted the best small forward over Luka Doncic. Luka getting more love in the guard department. Best point guard in the NBA, Luka. Tatum at 47%, the best small forward in the NBA. Jaylen getting a little love there too, fifth with 3% behind Luka, Durant, LeBron James. MVP, still not a ton of love for Tatum. Fair or not, though, tied with Jokic and Embiid for third. I don't think you can ask for much more than that. Shea, bit of a surprise as a favorite, 40%. Luka, 30%. He's annually been an MVP favorite here. And I think something else that speaks positively to Tatum among these votes here, most versatile. Third, tied for third with Durant. And Victor Wembanyama, only LeBron and Giannis higher in the versatility department there. So if Tatum didn't get respect from the fans or media, certainly respect from the executives of the league here. Tatum considered one of the best players in the league, and I think that shows most in the total votes among position players, which he ranked in the top 5 of alongside Shea. Luka got 12% of the position votes, Giannis 15%, Jokic considered effectively the best player in the league there. So as I had in my list, and as it seems apparent here, Tatum, a top 5 player going into this year. Brown, though, hot on his heels. And does it bring back that conversation we've had for so long, Brown or Tatum? You know, who's the heartbeat of this team? Who is the guy here? A little love for Jaylen, and MVP, received votes in the MVP department. That'd be shocking to see at the end of the year. Receiving votes as best shooting guard alongside Luka, Curry, Shea, Booker, and Edwards, who received the top distinction there. And then, as mentioned, fifth in the small forward department. The MVP thing, super surprising, and maybe the biggest beneficiary of what the Celtics did last year, Jaylen Brown, being thrust into that level of conversation. I mean, his rankings here put him with some of the best players in the league, even if it's just a rung below. That was not the case last year coming off the East Finals. And then you look at Drew. I mean, what can you say? Defense, best perimeter defender in the NBA at 43%, tied for second as the best defensive player, period, in the NBA alongside Rudy and Bam. Victor, an overwhelming pick there at 40%, which shows how high many people, myself included, are coming into this year on Wembanyama. Most versatile defender, tied for fifth behind Bam, OG, Victor, and Giannis, coming in at first. Holiday tied with Isaac, great defender. Herb Jones, the only perimeter player, first team all defense last year, Herb Jones, and Jaden McDaniels in Minnesota. And then a little more love for Drew in some other departments. Future head coach, who would make the best future head coach? Chris Paul got the top vote there. Drew Holiday, honorable mention. And best leader, tied for fourth behind Curry, Brunson, and LeBron. Holiday tied with Jokic and Chris Paul. So major respect among the league's GMs for Jrue Holiday. That stands out to me because, as I've mentioned, you look forward beyond this year, if the Celtics do have to make some decisions on guys for money reasons, Jrue still coming off last year, one of the most beloved players value-wise in the NBA. And as we talked about on Sunday's Garden Report, amazing looking back on it that the Celtics were able to acquire him, especially at the price that they did. A couple players who have struggled with injuries since. Warriors first rounder that did okay last year, and then a distant first pick from the Celtics in that trade. One of the great trades you'll see ever, I think, in this league. And then we get to Joe, who I think came a little underrated out of this list here. No votes for Joe, 0 for best coach in the NBA. And of course, last year I thought underrated in the media head coach of the year voting. Tied for third with Popovich and Doc among best managers / motivators. Spoelstra got a ton of love on this list for obvious reasons. 69% best coach, 37% best motivator. Joe did second behind Rick Carlisle, who ran away with the best offense. Would have thought there'd be a closer race there. Celtics were pretty much in line with what Indiana did last year offensively, and major innovation in the offense by Joe since he ascended as head coach here. And then defense, I think he came in tied for third or fourth behind Tom Thibodeau, Chris Finch, and Eric Spoelstra. 23% Eric Spoelstra slated with having the best defensive scheme. This one fair, I think, based on how last year went. Joe coming in at fourth, though the Celtics did have one of the best defenses in the league. I think some of these other teams, Minnesota, Miami, given their versatility and the different things they do on that end, Thibodeau in New York, though, I think the Celtics came away with a better defense than there. So Joe a little underrated. I think you'll come out of this year with an even higher vision of Joe compared to what we see in the results here. So a little delay, I think, in him getting the credit he deserves for what the Celtics have done. But they'll have to do it again this year. We are brought to you by Prize Picks all week. Sports coming back. You got hockey coming back tonight as we record this. You have football throughout the week into the weekend. And right now on Prize Picks, play $5, get $50 instantly with code CLNS. Pick 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, and you have your daily fantasy team here. Of course, as I've mentioned, if your players are going down left and right on your fantasy football team, we'll go do a daily fantasy team here, and they even have injury insurance, which keeps your team in play if someone goes down in the first half. Use code CLNS, get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks. And Game Time, go over to Game Time, create an account, use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Concerts, events, sports, all the events you can think of are available over at the Game Time app with panoramic views of your seat, all in pricing, so you know what you're paying right from the start, as well as flash zone deals. Make it a great experience. Game Time, again, use the code CLNS after downloading the app. $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. I'm Bobby Manning. Go check out the full GM report here, and listen to Chris Forsberg and I discussed it on the latest Garden Report this afternoon. We'll be back with coverage of practice on Thursday and Friday in Boston, as well as 2 preseason games this weekend, Celtics-Sixers on Saturday and Celtics-Raptors on Sunday. This has been a news edition of the Garden Report. Hey, Bobby Manning here. If you made it this far, you probably enjoyed this video, so subscribe, turn on notifications, and check out our social media platforms at CelticsCLNS